Darshan and author of the Rabbi Glatstein.
Okay. It's an honor for me to be here today. Thank you, Rabbi Ralph, for hosting today's event. Really at a pivotal moment in the history of the Jewish people. Ralph's a smart man for recognizing the call of the hour. Bershus the Anhal of Lev La'achim, Rav Sorotskin, Rav Yanki, Rav Nachum, and all the whole panel of Lev La'achim. You know, I've spoken for Lev La'achim many times. But most of the times I've spoken for Lev La'achim, it was a different world. That was the world of Lev La'achim before Reb Aaron Leib passed away, before Reb Gershon passed away, before Reb Uri. And I was thinking, we're here on Reb Uri's coattails, but literally today we could grab his coattails. And it was a world without Reb Chaim. Think about a world without Reb Chaim. Look what a world looks like without Reb Chaim Kanievsky, without these Gedolei Yisrael. Let's try to paint a little picture of the state of the world today in 2024. So there's a Jew in Beverly Hills. His name is Spiegel. Spiegel is a Hungarian family. 75 years ago, him and his wife and his son, they go into Auschwitz. 5 months later, they walk out, just the couple without the son. The man comes to Los Angeles. He becomes an entrepreneur. He's very successful. He's a multi-millionaire. He owns a lot of real estate, retail establishments, and he contacts Yad Vashem. He says, I know you have a beautiful museum. Do me a favor. I want to make a memorial for my son, my 5-year-old son who was killed in the Holocaust. But not only my son, I would like to memorialize 1.5 million Jewish children who were killed in the Holocaust. I mean, could you imagine 1.5 million Jewish children? So they make an exhibit. He walks into Yad Vashem. The room is 8 to 10 stories high, maybe 30 times the size of this room. And the room is pitch black. I'm saying makas choshech. You could feel the darkness. V'yamesh choshech. And after a moment, your eyes begin to adjust, and you see in the middle of this immense room of darkness, one candle that is lit, and by the genius of the designer and the architect, this one pinpoint of light, through reflections, through mirrors, turns into 1.5 million points of light. And there's a voice over it. And the voice plays names, non-stop, incessantly. Hillel Cohen, 5 years, Vilna. Miriam Goldberg, 7 years, Sarajevo. And the names never stop. And you want to run out of that room, you don't know what to do with yourself. That's the scope of 1.5 million Jewish children that were lost. Could you imagine if we had those 1.5 million Jewish children? What would the Jewish world look like today? What would the state of Israel look like today if we had 1.5 million more Jewish children? You know, in 1946, and actually my grandfather, he personally met the chief rabbi of Palestine, Rav Herzog, in the DP camps after the war. Rav Herzog came to the city of Chicago, 1946. And all the yeshiva bachrim in Chicago, 1946, there are not that many of them. They're gathering to hear Rav Herzog, by the way, the grandfather of the current president of Israel. He was a very aristocratic personality. He had a cane, a top hat. He walked with his silver-plated Tanakh. And he comes into the Skokie Yeshiva and he gives a pilpul for 45 minutes in Yiddish. And at the end of the 45 minutes, he says, I want to have a word with the Bachrim. He says, Bachrim, I want to tell you where I just came from. I just had audience with the Pope. I brought the Pope a scroll. On the scroll was a list of the names of 10,000 Jewish boys and girls who were kidnapped by Christian families or given to monasteries or given to Christian families in the Holocaust because the parents didn't think they would ever see them again. He says, Dear Pope, give us back our children. The parents are alive. The parents want to see them again. They belong to us. The Pope, Kedarkoi B'Kodesh, slammed the door in Rav Herzog's face. He says, all of these kids were baptized. The law is, once a child is baptized, he can never go back to another religion. And Rav Herzog left empty-handed. He breaks down at the lectern crying. Rav Herzog says, there's nothing I could do for these 10,000 boys and girls. But you, young men, what do you plan on doing for the future of the Jewish people? You know, we've had moments in our history where children were literally up for grabs. Can you imagine if we had 1.5 million children that were available for purchase? You know, in the 40s, you could buy an edition of the New York Times. You open up the New York Times. At least back then, you could actually open it up. And there were ads. It said, Jewish lives for sale, $50 a head. That's what the ad said. You could buy and rescue a Jewish life 70 years ago for $50. And that opportunity has not come for the Jewish people in 75 years. But it's a new world. Actually, now you could put out ads in the paper. You could buy a Jew today, maybe not for $50, but for $500 you could have the child back. Do you know what the statistics are in Eretz Yisrael? Today, there are 1.5 million Jewish children. They don't know Shema Yisrael. They never heard of Avram Avinu. They never heard of Avinu Shabbat Shemayim. And for $500, you could have a chavrusa learn with them. And you could take them back. They were lost 75 years ago. As mentioned, there's a small window of opportunity in our history. You know, there's a story, I'm somewhat hesitant to say it over. It's a little bit like apocryphal. Don't tell anybody. But the story goes back to Radin, in the times of the Chafetz Chaim. It was on the Tzom Gedalia. Chafetz Chaim got up after davening. Chafetz Chaim held no official capacity in the yeshiva. He gets up after davening, he says, I want to make an announcement. In 7 days is Yom Kippur. There's a nearby village. The people there, they don't know that much about Torah and mitzvahs. They don't have a working mikvah. Do me a favor, maybe one of you bachrim, you're going to go, you're going to daven there Yom Kippur, yeah minyan, no minyan. And you'll remind them, there's something called a mikvah, and maybe they could fix the mikvah. And the Chafetz Chaim sat down. A bacher goes over to the Chafetz Chaim, and he asks him a kasha on a tosfos. He's talking to the Chafetz Chaim on a tosfos for 10 minutes. And then the Chafetz Chaim says, okay, you like my pshat? Bacher says, yeah, very nice. Chafetz Chaim says, maybe you want to go to the village? Bacher says, give up davening in the yeshiva on Yom Kippur to go out to a village, yeah minyan, no minyan? I don't know, I'm not comfortable doing that. The Chafetz Chaim turned around, and one thing we know for sure, the Chafetz Chaim was very careful with every word he said. You know, there's something called Sefer Chafetz Chaim. Chafetz Chaim turned around, he expectorated on the floor, and he said, Fui to his tosfos. If you're interested in your family, and your learning, and your davening, and the children of the Ribono Shel Olam, that's someone else's problem. The Chafetz Chaim said, Fui to your Avodas Hashem. These are the children of the Ribono Shel Olam. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz would say, his Talmidim said, he said this at least 5 times on Leil Kol Nidrei. Reb Chaim would say, if you don't lose a night's sleep during the year about the fate of your brothers and sisters, then what's your Yom Kippur? What exactly are you doing on Yom Kippur? What is your Avodas Hashem if you're not worried about them? You know, there's a very interesting Chavos Havavos. Chavos Havavos talks about a guy. He davens with a minyan 3 times a day. He's koivea itim l'Torah morning and night. He's toivel in the mikvah every single day. He's medakdek kala kechamura in every single detail of the halacha. Says the Chavos Havavos, even such a person has no guarantee of Olam Haba. No guarantee of Olam Haba. Says the Chavos Havavos, Hagemol Olam Haba ein adam roiloi b'maaseu hatoiv bovad. It is impossible for a person to amass on their own enough masim toivim to be confident that they'll have a share. Says the Chavos Havavos, there's only one insurance policy that a person could be confident that they'll get the right spot. Says the Chavos Havavos, Rak matzdike harabim kekoichavim la'olam ba'ad. Only if you have a chelek in being matzdik the rabbi. It's very interesting. They say money can't buy everything. It's not true. There's kamat, not a problem in the world that money can't solve. Think about it. Somebody once asked me a shaila. Somebody once asked, we know if you learn Torah, it protects you from the Yetzer Hara. But what if you support Torah? If you support Torah, does that protect you from the Yetzer Hara? The Zvulun, is the Zvulun protected from the Yetzer Hara? He told me nobody has been able to find an answer to this question. So, like with a challenge like that, you want to look around, you want to see, does anybody say anything about this? Sure enough, Chida writes that not only is Yisachar, not only is the Loimei Torah protected from the Yetzer Hara, the supporter of Torah is protected from the Yetzer Hara. So even spiritual issues, you could solve with the right support. Chavos HaVaves teaches us the ikar ticket in the next world is the zechus of being matzdik the rabbim. And if you're not on the front lines, and if you don't have the opportunity to do it yourself, at the very least, you could actually buy the ticket. You could purchase it. There are ads today, Jewish lives for sale. Now, I don't know if you know that on October 7th, a lot of the shilas came to Rav Glatstein. And the question was, were they allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos? Were they allowed to be Mechalel Yom Tiv to save everybody? So you say that sounds like a surprising shaila. No, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. So people actually challenge Rav Glatstein, how are you allowed to be Mechalel Yom Tiv? Aren't you only allowed to be Mechalel Yom Tiv if someone's Shomer Torah mitzvahs? Only someone who observes halacha? So Rav Glatstein says, yeah, but the Chazon Ish says, what does the Chazon Ish say? Everybody knows this Chazon Ish. That Bizman Hazeh, there's no such thing as a Mumar Lahachis. Everyone is what? A Tinoik Shenishba. Think about the meaning of the words. That means a Jew who doesn't know about Shabbos and Yom Tiv and Mitzvahs, what is their halachic status? They're Nishba. What does Nishba mean? They're captive. They're hostage. They're hostage. That means halachically, the Jews in Eretz Yisrael today are literally hostage. So think about, what are we doing for the hostages today? We know what we're doing for those who are hostage in Gaza. Think about the money that's being poured in. Think about the Mesiras Nefesh that's going into it. But what are we doing for those Jews that are Nishba Mamish in secular society? Did you think about the day that this all happened? Simchas Torah. October 7th. Not only was it my anniversary, it was Simchas Torah. When people are thinking, Simchas Torah, how could it be that Yidden are dancing at a music festival? And I guarantee it wasn't Hakafos taking place at the music festival. At the least level, it was Gimel Averos Chamurais. But the question is, whose responsibility is that? Was it their responsibility? But they're nishba. They're hostages. They're captives. Nobody taught them. We didn't teach them. We didn't support Lev La'achim enough so that they should know what a Simchas Torah is. There were 3 Moshavim who were Shomer Shabbos that were saved. Even the Shomer Shabbos in the Moshavim that were attacked, there were miraculous stories that they were saved. Think about it. If we could have reached all those Yidden, maybe they would have been protected as well. So whose responsibility is it that they don't know what a Simchas Torah is? That they don't know what the joy of a Torah lifestyle is? So Rebbeinu Shalom is being meitiv to us. He's opening up a historic window. In this window, with enough resources, with enough support, with enough Mesiras Nefesh, think about how wide